So we saw that in chapter 19 of 1 Samuel, David was escaping from Saul, and his own wife literally has to rescue him out of the home that has now become a prison. And he escapes from his own home because of Saul. And now we see in chapter 20 what happens. Then David fled from Naioth at Ramah, where he had fled to. He had gone there with Samuel, and went to Jonathan and asked, "What have I done? What is my crime? How have I wronged your father that he is trying to kill me?" "Never," Jonathan replied. "You are not going to die." Remember, Jonathan was really close to David. "Look, my father doesn't do anything great or small without letting me know. Why would he hide this from me? It isn't so." But David took an oath and said, "Your father knows very well that I have found favor in your eyes. And he has said to himself, 'Jonathan must not know that this, or he will be grieved.' Yet as surely as the Lord lives, and as you live, there's only a step between me and death." Jonathan said to David, "Whatever you want me to do, I'll do for you." So David said, "Look, tomorrow is the new moon feast, and I am supposed to dine with the king. But let me go and hide in the field until the evening of the day after tomorrow. If your father misses me at all, tell him David honestly asked my permission to hurry to Bethlehem, his hometown, because an annual sacrifice is being made there for his whole clan. If he says, 'Very well,' then your servant is safe. But if he loses his temper, you can be sure that he is determined to harm me. As for you, show kindness to your servant, for you have brought him into a covenant with you before the Lord. If I am guilty, then kill me yourself. Why hand me over to your father?" "Never," Jonathan said. "If I had the least inkling that my father was determined to harm you, wouldn't I tell you?" And it continues. David asked, "Who will tell me if your father answers you harshly?" "Come," Jonathan said, "let's go out into the field." So they went there together. Then Jonathan said to David, "I swear by the Lord, the God of Israel, that I will surely sound out my father by this time, the day after tomorrow. If he is favorably disposed towards you, will I not send you word, let you know. But if my father intends to harm you, may the Lord deal with Jonathan, be it ever so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away in peace. May the Lord be with you as he has been with my father, but show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off your kindness from my family. Do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth." So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, "May the Lord call David's armies to account." And Jonathan had David affirm his oath out of love to him, because he loved him as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said to David, "Tomorrow is a new moon feast. You will be missed, because your seat will be empty. The day after tomorrow, toward evening, go to the place where you hid when this trouble began, and wait by the stone Ezel. I will shoot 3 arrows to the side of it, as though I was shooting a target. Then I will send a boy and say, 'Go find the arrows.' If I say to him, 'Look, the arrows are on this side of you, bring them here,' then come, because as surely as the Lord lives, you are safe. There is no danger. But if I say to the boy, 'Look, the arrows are beyond you,' then you must go, because the Lord has sent you away. And about the matter you and I discussed, remember, the Lord is witness between you and me forever." So David hid in the field, and when the new moon feast came, the king sat down to eat. He sat in his customary place by the wall opposite Jonathan, and Abner sat next to Saul. But David's place was empty. Saul said nothing that day, for he thought, something must have happened to David to make him ceremoniously unclean. Surely he is unclean. But the next day, the second day of the month, David's place was empty again. Then Saul said to his son Jonathan, "Why hasn't the son of Jesse come to the meal, either yesterday or today?" Jonathan answered, "David earnestly asked me for permission to go to Bethlehem. He said, 'Let me go because our family is observing a sacrifice in the town, and my brother has ordered me to be there. If I have found favor in your eyes, let me get away to see my brothers. That is why he has not come to the king's table.'" Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse and rebellious woman, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse, to your own shame and to the shame of the mother who bore you? As long as the son of Jesse lives on this earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him to me, for he must die." "Why should he be put to death? What has he done?" Jonathan asked his father. But Saul hurled his spear to kill him. Then Jonathan knew that his father intended to kill David. Jonathan got up from the table in fierce anger. On that second day of the feast he did not eat, because he was grieved at his father's shameful treatment of David. In the morning Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him, and he said to the boy, "Run and find the arrows I shoot." As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy came to the place where Jonathan's arrow had fallen, Jonathan called out to him, "Isn't the arrow beyond you?" Then he shouted, "Hurry, go quickly, don't stop." The boy picked up the arrow and returned to his master. The boy knew nothing about all this. Only Jonathan and David knew. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the boy and said, "Go carry them back to town." After the boy had gone, David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times, with his face to the ground. Then they kissed each other and wept together, but David wept the most. Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, 'The Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever.'" Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. So David is now a fugitive amongst his own people and from his own boss, the king of the entire nation. Where can he possibly run and be safe at this moment? Jonathan is his trusted friend. Also, we think, also he thinks. There are few clues as to Jonathan's relationship with David. It says that Jonathan had made a covenant with David. And because of this covenant, he made David remember and swear all over again that David would never harm his family. But he seems to have a bit of a problem in terms of discerning his father's intentions, because he doesn't seem to know just how intent Saul is on killing David. He says if he had the least inkling that his father was going to be determined to harm David, he would let him know. Does that mean he has no least inkling? David lived in the same palace, assumedly, and Saul had hurled a spear at David. And Jonathan continues to say, is it that Jonathan didn't know about it? And Jonathan makes him swear the safety of his family. even when he's king. That in verse 15, do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth. May the Lord call David's enemies to account. And Jonathan had David reaffirm his oath out of love for him, because he loved him as he loved himself. So we see that this pact has been made. And Jonathan seems to be pretty sure that David is going to come into full rulership as a king of Israel. Because the Lord is with him, he has no doubt about that. But his father is still in denial about it. And he sees David as a threat to his kingdom. Samuel already told him that he would lose his kingdom, so I don't know why it's still a surprise to Saul. But he's enraged by it and he doesn't accept it. And so we see in the rebuke to Jonathan by Saul, when Jonathan tries to cover up for David, he says, "You son of a perverse and rebellious woman, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse, to your own shame and to the shame of your mother who bore you? As long as the son of Jesse lives on the earth, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. Now send someone to bring him to me, for he must die." Now Jonathan does not send anyone to bring David to Saul. In fact, he's very angry. He has been called a son of a perverse and rebellious woman. Anybody would be upset. But on top of that, he reveals something verbally. He tells him that your kingdom will not be established. Now Jesse's son was going to be king. There is no doubt in Saul's mind that it is a substitution. It is either or. But Jonathan defends David. Why should he die? What has he done? Now, could Saul have had an issue with his wife? Why would he call him a rebellious and perverse woman? Did Jonathan remind him of his wife, who was probably estranged from him? Anyway, so Jonathan gets off the table and he leaves in fierce anger. And as he had made an oath to David, he lets him know that indeed his life is in trouble. And this response is one that we should never forget. David got up from the south side of the stone and bowed down before Jonathan 3 times. As a sign of respect? Is it honor? Does David think he will die? Is it a parting shot? Do they think they will never see each other again? Does David feel that he is going to die and so will never see Jonathan again? Then they kissed each other and wept together. It was almost like farewell. And David wept the most, because he knows his life is in danger. And Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn friendship with each other in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord is witness between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever." Then David left, and Jonathan went back to the town. Yep, so that's the chapter of a friendship that is enduring, of a time in one of their lives where they're actually at the risk of death, and the other defends the other, one defends the other at the risk of severing links with his own father. It's a very strange relationship right now between Jonathan and Saul. But David leaves Jonathan feeling almost as if fate has it that they'll never meet again, and that David will die in the hands of Saul. So we get to see what happens after he leaves Jonathan in the next chapter.